a month and a half, 2 months straight, not one deal at all.
And then the whole world was scared at that time.
Right.
Everyone was scared.
Definitely. And you know, we're coming into end of spring 2020, and I just kind of thought to myself, I was like, man, like, I got to do something.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Josue Ortega. I'm a lender at Ticket Mortgage and a PR specialist. And right here I have Jordan Barnhill. So you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Jordan. I'm a real estate broker at Century 21 Tri-Cities, and just want to appreciate a good pal, Josue, invite me out here for this podcast that we're about to do, and so let's have at it.
Yeah, let's have at it.
Perfect.
So I think, you know, every superhero, every supervillain has an origin story.
Right.
And so, you know, what's your origin story?
Shoot, man. Well, originally my name's Clark. But no, so, yeah, I mean, really grew up here in the Tri-Cities. My family's kind of from all over the place. I was actually born in the Armpit of America, Davenport, Iowa. And so a lot of people are like, what, Iowa? Because, you know, it's just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was born there. My pops, he was going to chiropractic college down there at the time. And my mom got together when they were really young, both 16 years old, had my older brother when they were both teenagers, and had me right after, and I have a sister that's just 11 months younger than I am. And so right when I was about 4 years old, parents got divorced, and they kind of went their separate ways, and so kind of grew up with the best of both worlds. My dad's side of the family, very conservative and religious. Mom's side of the family, they're a bunch of hippies from Northern California. And so I kind of got to grow up the best of both worlds, you could say. And, you know, looking back on it, they were always kind of combating each other, but looking at it now, I kind of took the best traits from both sides and, you know, kind of conformed it together. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, I grew up here, graduated from Mike in high school. I grew up racing dirt bikes pretty much my whole life until, you know, I broke too many bones and realized I got to go to school, and then started going to school and was like, man, I don't think I can do this much longer, you know, and so, yeah, dropped out within like 6 months, going to a community college down in Colorado, moved to Colorado right after I graduated high school, and yeah, kind of came back here, winter break, early 2017, and didn't really know what I was going to do with my life, and so I come from a family of brokers. Mom's been a broker for about 15 years. Grandpa was a designated broker down in Northern California for about since the 70s. And yeah, right when I came back, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so kind of thought, I was like, maybe I can try real estate. Like, you know, what's the worst that's going to happen? And next thing I knew, got the test done within a couple months and just kind of got thrown into it. And here we are, the rest is history, you know? So that's kind of the story, man.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, like, you're one of the, in my opinion, the most successful realtor. Century 21, first in your office?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, for I think about 7 or 8 months straight. Yeah, #1 in units.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You, man. Yeah.
And so, what would you say then? Actually, let's go back a little bit because I want to ask you what's your motivator, but we'll get to that in a bit. Let's go back a little bit. So you passed your test.
Mm-hmm.
What was those first, like that first, second year? What was that like?
Okay, so I mean, right when I got done with the test, I was only 19 years old, and man, there was a few things that I had going against me at that point. I mean, one, real estate is a transactional based learning, right? And so, I mean, when I flew through the test, and I'm gonna be honest, I did not really pay attention to a lot of the things that were in the course when I was doing real estate. And then you take a final exam to actually get your license. I failed that exam 3 times, and then I got it on my 4th time.
Wow.
And so right when I failed the 3rd time, man, I got really discouraged, honestly. I was like, maybe this isn't kind of the route for me, and I don't know if I want to do this, you know? It was like something was almost telling me, like, no, you shouldn't get into real estate. But then went at it, got it the 4th time done, and then, yeah, really the first year, I mean, I was young, I was 19, and I mean, no one was really wanting to buy a house from a 19-year-old, right? Especially when I didn't even own a house myself, right? How am I supposed to sell a house and, you know, help someone buy a house when I haven't gone through the process myself? And so, being so young, you almost have to kind of get into a mindset where you're faking it or make it. And really, one of the ways that really helped me kind of get that started and progress in that way is I got thrown into helping with new construction. I started representing polished homes, I want to say at the end of 2017, early 2018, that was really, I mean, within a month of starting real estate, just went and started doing new construction. And so, and I wasn't listing the homes or anything like that, but they gave me an opportunity to start holding open houses for them. And so probably the first year, held open houses 4 to 5 days a week for about 4 to 5 hours a day. And I did that for like a full year, ended up double siding or actually selling some of the polished homes in that community. Probably the first year, I probably found about 6 or 7 buyers and ended up bringing the buyers for those homes. And then so once polished, they were like, hey, we are opening a new community and we need another agent to do it. And at that point, I know they weren't really too keen on choosing me. They liked me, but I think they just kind of still wanted to see how I was testing out the waters with everything, just because when I was still super young, I just turned 19, 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And then two, I know that they had bad experience with younger agents previously before that. I mean, not only younger in age, but just newer to the industry as well, newer agents as well. And so, but yeah, I mean, ended up kind of proving myself to them with selling a few of their homes and representing the buyers. And so they really had no other choice to, you know, put me in their next Pasco community, just since I was already holding all those open houses in Pasco for them at the time.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, started doing, then had about, I'd probably say about 25, 30 polished homes that we sold out here. Yeah, and
that was like second year.
So second year, but yeah, that's really the first year. If I could, you know, really suggest to anyone, just because I see a lot of new agents starting, and it really helps. You know, it takes them a while to get their feet running and whatnot. And I mean, the best way that we could do it is, I say that I built my whole business on open houses. That's really how I paid the foundation for everything. I mean, there's a few benefits that come from it. I mean, one, you're always kind of in the field and you're always learning and working. And then really, I mean, once you get the process down for new construction, you can really crack any builder. I mean, all of them generally have kind of the same type of process, same, you know, everything like that. And so right when I was starting out, I mean, like I said, I had no experience. I didn't really know that much of the process, and really I didn't even know that much about new construction in general. And so I always took it upon myself. I was like, okay, hey, I don't have any of these, but what can I have and what can I bring to the table? And two traits that I found out were most beneficial was just being personable and knowledgeable as I could be, right? Even though I don't have the sales, I don't have really anything to back it up, but if I can be as knowledgeable about the market, know where all the new construction is, know what's going over here, know what's happening here, price points, area, everything like that, and then also have the personability to back it up and make that individual feel comfortable with it, rest is history, right? I mean, and I've heard too that I want to say about 65, 70% of people solely choose an agent or even a lender just based off trust, right? And so, I mean, you don't have to have really anything to back it up, but if you can just, kind of guide that person with the knowledge and then also make them feel comfortable at the same time, which is being personal and relating to them, then, you're going to take care of them at the end of the day. So, yeah, personable and knowledgeable.
You hit it on the head. That's awesome. Honestly, I was thinking while you were saying a bunch of like all the recommendations, tips and stuff.
Right.
That's a lot of what I like to call that's a clip.
Right. Right. There you go.
That's good. And so, I would say then where I want to ask you next would be now that you went through those 2 years and you're going into was it fourth, fifth year?
Yeah, fourth, fifth year.
Fifth year. You're a totally different, animal beast than what you were that first, second year.
For sure.
And I think a lot of people, I would say just in the sales community, like people who are in sales and stuff, they always want to have that trajectory that you had, where they are continuously growing, doubling sales year after year.
Right.
And you've done something that is impressive, not just in real estate, but just in like the skill of selling in general.
Appreciate that.
And so, what do you feel really made that shift happen for you, where you didn't just stay at that second year level? Because a lot of realtors, lenders, people in general, they get to like a certain level, and it's kind of like they plateau for a while.
Definitely.
And so sometimes people feel stuck there.
Sure.
So what was that, what do you think was that shift for you?
Really the turning point that I had was COVID had actually just came, and really right when COVID came in about March 2020, that was right when I had sold out of my polish community, right? And so I always tell people that I was really bred as like a new construction listing agent. I mean, like I said, really the first month I started, I was thrown into the open houses and really just started working new construction as a listing agent. And it was really having that college community and selling out of it. It was one of the best and worst things that ever happened to me at the time. One of the things why it was the best reason was just because as a new agent, I almost did the opposite. A lot of agents start with, doing their resale, working with the referrals, but I was so young, all my friends and all my referrals were drunk degenerates in college at the time, so they weren't about to buy a house anytime soon, and so, and so really what kind of happened right there was, I started, got done, did the polish stuff, and where I'm at, losing my train of thought here, but best thing that happened was I kind of did it opposite in that aspect. Just basically what I mean is a lot of new agents start off with just doing referrals, friends, things like that, but like I said, I didn't have any because all of them were just being drunk idiots in college at the time, and so, but the way that was a benefit was really it made me really kind of hustle and kick it up into gear, and it really, in new construction, there's so many moving parts to it. I mean, when it comes to putting in the foundation, the framing, the change orders, how the home's going to be placed, just there's so many different factors. And so it's a lot more in some aspects, but I was really drawn to that just because it was a very structured process, and it was really fun too, being with someone from the very beginning, from where they choose their own lot, they choose their floor plan, to hand over the keys. It's a really rewarding feeling when you see them from the whole get-go.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got done with a process where I closed this home I put it under contract at the end of January, just closed on it on Friday. So I was, sometimes with new construction, it could be a good thing, maybe not so good of a good thing sometimes, but you're going to be married to them for a good 11 months or so. And what I've noticed is a lot of people that are into new construction now, it took them a handful of years to get a builder and learn that process. And so I was in a great position where I learned all that stuff just from the get-go, and that's kind of how I was bred as. But then once my community sold out, this is where the negative part kind of came into it. And I was like, oh man, like, what am I going to do? My next community with this, they're probably not going to be ready for another 2 to 3 years. And so that's all I really know at this point is like just being a listing agent, selling polished homes. And so selling out in March 2020, at the time, I thought it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me, honestly. I mean, I was kind of down on my luck and I was freaking out a little bit just because I really hadn't done that many deals in resale, right? And so it was all just new construction. And right when it sold out, COVID hit the same exact time. And dude, I went through a process there when, in April, May 2020, where I think I went 2 months straight with not doing one deal. Like, I think it was a month and a half, 2 months straight, not one deal at all.
And then the whole world was scared at that time.
Right.
Everyone was scared.
Definitely. And we're coming into end of spring 2020, and I just kind of thought to myself, I was like, man, I got to do something. I was kind of waiting for things to just fall in my lap, because when you're in new construction, it's not like you got to go out and door knock and get listings. Like, you have a builder call you and they say, hey, send me 10 listing agreements. We're listing your 10 next new construction home. It's a lot easier in that aspect. They get given to you in a sense. It is harder work with always having to be at the open houses, working with the buyer from start to finish, but it's more rewarding. A lot of your bread and butter comes from new construction deals, just because they're already there and you don't really have to go out and get them. And so that's what really scared me when it sold out. And I want to say probably April, May 2020, I was just like, man, I need to stop waiting for things to fall into my lap. I got to go out and get it, And so that's when I really just started following up with every single lead or prospect I ever came into touch with. And then at the time, I started working actually with a different builder, and that builder was actually down in the Grandview area. And so then I traveled down to Grandview and started working a bunch of business down there and built up not only a big referral network down in Tri-Cities, but all the way stretching from Grandview to Yakima. And that really took off here in the last 1.5 to 2 years. And so, and what I've noticed too is that, I mean, I used to think new construction was your bread and butter, but ultimately your bread and butter is when you work with clients on the resale side of things, whether you're representing buyers or you're helping them, sell their current home, just because if you give those people a good experience, they're always going to come, they're going to refer people your way till the day they die. I mean, that's really how it is as compared to new construction. What they'll do is, I mean, a lot of builders are, and I totally understand this, I mean, builders are in the business of making money, as well as agents, as well as brokerages, and builders are the type to say, hey, who has the land? Cool, that's where I'm going. You know, they're a lot shorter and kind of colder relationships as to where your resale side of the business, you meet these clients, you show them through the process, and they will refer you, take the shirt off the back for you to give them a good experience, and actually, you know, they put all their trust into you, and you make it fun for them at the end of the day, you know, and those type of people are going to keep coming back, giving you referrals, then the referrals they send you, you give them a good experience, and then you get a referral from that, and it just is kind of like, you know, a big building block in a sense, you know, and so that's kind of what I noticed. I always like, oh man, you know, all the money is for new construction, but it's not. You know, my perspective was kind of skewed in the sense. I mean, ultimately, it can depend on, okay, who's the builder? You know, that broker and that builder may have a very special relationship. I know of a handful in the Tri-Cities that have been representing each other for, you know, 10 years plus, but for the majority, 85, 90% of builders, it's whoever has the land. So if this broker and that brokerage has the land, cool. They're going to represent me when I build homes on that and sell them. If this one does, then I'm going to do it with them. You know, and so just a lot kind of colder relationship.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
Yeah, and so that's really.
So you said that when that dried up, you said that you moved to Grandview and that you started building up that referral list, right?
Right.
So let's digest that a little bit. When you had that mindset shift that, hey, you know, over here in Tri-Cities, you know, I kind of didn't work my referral list as much as I should have, and then you moved to Grandview. What were the things that you did differently when selling that community, and like just as a realtor, so that you could, you know, sell more units, get more resale, you know, homes and stuff like that? Right. Versus that first time, you know, what were the mistakes you made, the things you fixed? Because, you know, it sounds to me like the first time you're like very focused on the new construction,
Right.
But then coming this time, you learned a lot, and you weren't just focused on new construction, but building up that list from, you know, Yakima all the way to Tri-Cities.
Right. Definitely.
What were those like actionable steps, you know,
right.
that you took?
Right. And so I'd say really one of the first mistakes I made getting into real estate, I mean, like I said, I was young, and at the time, in my first month, I got thrown into representing one of the really coolest builders and, you know, large builders in the Tri-Cities. I mean, they built beautiful houses. Their homes really sold themselves, won multiple consecutive years in the parade of homes. And so I think right when I first got in, I was kind of more set on not necessarily the image I was trying to portray, but it was funny because, you know, back then, I mean, I was broke, man. You know, I didn't really have nothing, and I was wearing, you know, cheap blazers from TJ Maxx, and I was just really fake till I make it. And I was like, yeah, you know, I represent a big builder and all this, but I really wasn't making much money. And so that was really the mistake I think I went in firsthand. I kind of came off as, oh, well, you know, I want to do new construction because it's, you know, it's new, the houses are nice, and it's kind of, I almost looked at it as more luxury type of real estate, which, you know, getting into it, you know, when you grow up and, you know, I come from a family where we saw $1 million listing all the time, and like, that's what I want to do, right? And I wasn't really focused on, you know, I was focused on doing that and not really, you know, maybe my buddy over here that's looking to buy, you know, first time home buyer house around $250K, you know, because I was just so busy and dedicated to that part that, you know, I wasn't really focused on that. And so really the shift that happened was I actually started representing a new builder. In the meantime, I got asked to come on. We sold about 8 or 9 homes in Grandview. We were working down there. And the one thing I loved about working with this builder was there was so much control from not only the back end side of things, but also from the front end. And so I got to learn so much more to the process when it just came to the front to the back end. I mean, you know, when that was, you know, having, you know, the land acquisition, purchasing the land, to what are we going to build here, having suggestions to the builder on, hey, let's do this, let's do that, as to where, you know, the first builder I was working with, Polish, they're a larger builder. Their corporate headquarters are in Bend, Oregon, and not necessarily more cutthroat system, but they're more of a production builder, right? Where they're like, hey, this is the process, this is what you do, we're going to tell you what to do, and I always got told what to do in that aspect, right? And so that was another huge benefit of actually learning more about the new construction side of things, was when I started working with another builder, 47 North Custom Homes in Grandview. We really got to control, I mean, how we listed them, how we marketed them, what we were going to build, and the agent actually got to put in their own suggestion, because in my opinion, I feel like the agent knows what's best, because we're in the field 24/7 talking to these clients. They know what we like and everything like that, right? And so really when that started in, you know, there was I want to say I started doing 47 North and Grandview probably June 2020. So really, like I said, there was like 2 months where I wasn't selling nothing, then got an opportunity to start doing that over there. And it kind of almost sparked it for me again. I got to see how much control and how much kind of flexibility this builder had. And I was like, holy smokes, like that's a thing that builders do. I didn't know, because I was still kind of, not newer, but I'd only worked with one builder and I didn't know, I thought they all kind of had a cutthroat process. They have their site supervisors, their superintendents, their corporate, and really with 47, it was me, another agent, the builder, and then our money guy where we're getting lots and whatnot, and so started doing that and just really, learned so many different things, just even how to really, build a house. I wasn't out there hammering and nailing or anything like that, but just the process. And then when I started working with folks down there, they had friends, family that wanted to look to buy a house, but necessarily maybe couldn't afford a new construction house. And so I think really the turning point was just saying, okay, hey, I figured out that all builders are different, and I thought that I wanted to be that new construction listing agent, but why not be both at the same time, right? Because you can really hustle both, and you can get, double the clients, double the referrals at the end of the day. And so really just kind of started working it from both angles, and just found out now that I had all that new construction knowledge with, a smaller builder where we control everything to a large production builder where they controlled everything, that I could really kind of flip it around to my resale clients or just my referrals and say, hey, whether you're looking for a resale home or new construction, I know everything about X, Y, and Z when it comes to new construction. What are you looking for? Where are you looking for?
Being that expert.
Right. And so I think that really helped me kind of get the knowledge when it comes to just each builder's process. Like, when someone comes to you and says, well, I kind of want to do this type of home, I'm like, hey, I know the perfect builder for you. I know the perfect area. We can see if there's new construction in the area. If there's not, I know of these resale homes. And so I think it's just kind of honing in on dialing in that client and really figuring out not just how to show them homes, but how to close them at the end of the day. And so, that's just the mindset I always look at it is like, hey, you're my friend and I'm looking to either help, or I'm helping you to either buy or sell home. I hate when people refer to me as like, that is my, obviously I'm your agent, you're my client, right? But that's not how we got to look at it. It's like, hey, we're friends, I trust you, you trust me, I'll lead the way, and I promise that this will be an easy process and that we're going to make it seamless throughout the whole way, And so I think, that was really just a big turning point, just really knowing all the knowledge and knowing where to put that client and where I can close them at. So if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and that's a really interesting and amazing perspective to look at it. Not just like, I'm a realtor, you're a client, but like we're friends and we gotta have trust for one another. Trust is a big part of like almost any relationship, whether it be like, at home or with clients, business, people you work with. So
I always say growing up, man, if you don't have trust, you don't have nothing. It's 100% true too, so.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So let's let me ask you this question then. A lot of realtors look up to you, a lot of people in the community look up to you. What would your advice be for someone wanting to perform at your level? Because I know you told me stuff like you have a morning routine.
Right.
I've heard things like that. You're super organized. What's your piece of advice for someone that wants to get to, the level you're at, the performance that you've been able to put out, day after day?
Right, for sure. And so, I'd say that you always have to be proud of your accomplishments, but never satisfied. So just be proud, but never satisfied. And really one of the ways that, if I could suggest anything to anyone that's coming up, when you're coming up and you're young, it's going to be hard, man. You really just have to kind of stay focused on the goal. And the way I almost look at it is, hey, here's your goal, here's your vision. Almost kind of focus in like a tunnel, and it's like the goal is, the golden dime at the end of the tunnel, and then it's just blurred from the rest out. And that's kind of how I look at things. It's just like there's so much chaos with all the deals and everything going on, whether it's personal, work life, or anything like that. And then they just kind of have to stay focused and lasered in on everything. And really one thing I could suggest to newer people is, when you get into it, and I can totally understand that, it's going to be discouraging because and when I got into it, I saw all these people that were twice my age that they had it all figured out, they knew what they were doing, and when you get into it, you're young, you're a kid, you're like, I've never done this before, I'm kind of timid to do it, but the way I kind of saw things was, okay, as I got into it, you're gonna meet people, and as I grew older, and really probably after the first year of real estate, I kind of was looking around and I was like, man, like I used to think adults, when you grow up and you're kids, you're like adults, they got it figured out. They got everything figured out, right? Exactly. And then when you kind of become an adult, you're in the first year or two and you look around and you're like, actually no one really has it figured out. Everyone's just kind of gunning it and faking it until they make it, And so that's when I really kind of put on the hat like, hey, you just gotta go for it and fake it until you make it, because at the end of the day, no one really knows what they're doing. They're just going for it, And so regardless of age or anything, put that aside and just focus in on, okay, what do I want to do? What type of person do I want to be? Whether it's getting into sales or real estate, and what you see for yourself 5-10 years down the road. And what I always say is, you got to make goals every time, and you just can't stop, man. It's going to get discouraging. You're going to, feel like you're dumb sometimes and things like that, but never be afraid to ask for help. I always say, if you can't be the source, then be the source of the source, right? Yeah. And so you can just never really give up in those things. And the one thing I see is that anyone can make it in real estate, or sales, really anything you want to do. You just have to stay focused to the goal and do at least one thing every single day that's going to accelerate you to that goal. That's kind of what I've always thought. And so I've also been the type to say, okay, how do you expect to take care of anyone or anything else if you can't take care of yourself at the end of the day, right? And so that comes into, eating healthy, working out, just having good relationships. Like you said, relationships are everything, and just really kind of just dialing in all aspects of your life. And once you build the foundation of that, the rest kind of comes. So yeah, that's pretty much.
That's awesome, right on time. So,
and I knew I talked too much.
What was gonna happen? It was gonna die, or?
No, we can still keep going. I got more space on this SD card. That one's just gonna cut off. But if you guys want to keep rolling, we can keep going.
This will
still got both.
This
will still have both of you guys in it. So.
Okay, yeah, because I do have a few more things I want to ask.
Sure, hit me. Sometimes I'm on camera, dude. Like you're like, oh, I know what I'm gonna say, and then you're like, I'm on camera, and then you're like, and then it circles, but you gotta stay focused.
It happens to me too with the questions.
Right,
It happens. I'm like, oh.
Then you kind of forget, and then you're like, shit, and then you really space,
Because I know like what I'm interested in knowing, but then I think about like, well, what's like audience interested in knowing?
Sure.
I gotta ask questions that like, if this was on TikTok or like, if someone had out of 20 interviews, they gotta pick one, they pick ours, it's gonna be entertaining enough.
For sure.
Questions that they'll like. But my next question to you, dude, I know we could talk for like 4 or 5 hours.
Right, definitely.
I want to ask you, so what's the scariest transaction? I don't know how much you can say and stuff, but what's the scariest thing that's happened to you in real estate? And if you got a...
Well, I'll tell you.